So now, before we look at further details or further topics in agriculture, we have to talk about the general importance of the agriculture and allied sector. So, as you know, we already learned about the condition of Indian economy in the British period. British introduced, because of their faulty land revenue settlement systems, because of the zamindari, rayatwari and other systems, what happened is that there was a huge neglect happening to agriculture. The zamindars mainly acted as a middlemen. So they were only interested in exploiting the farmers and generating maximum revenue, and they did not have the incentive, or they were not interested, or they did not make any effort to make some improvements in the agricultural land. So what happened is that agriculture turned out to be a very unproductive or very less remunerative activity because of sheer neglect. Okay. Also, the farmers, when we look at from the side of the farmers, they did not have the resources, nor did they have the incentive, because it was not their property after all. They are just working on someone else's property. So they were also, first of all, they did not have the money to make any improvements to land, and second of all, there was no incentive. So because of both of this, agriculture was largely only a subsistence occupation, or agriculture was reduced to that of a subsistence occupation in British period. So this logic or this idea has been so rooted that even now the agricultural sector receives a kind of secondary status. Like young people like us do not, we do not consider, there are very few of us who are interested in considering agriculture as our profession, right? Speaking of the importance of national income, importance of agriculture sector, the very first point we can say is the share in national income. So we just said that in 2019-20, share of agriculture to GVA was 16.5%. So 16.5%, even though in 1950-51, even though it was at a level of 53%, even though there is a reduction, that does not mean 16.5% is an insignificant amount. It is definitely a significant amount. So agriculture and allied sectors have a significant contribution to national income. Okay, even though it has persistently declined. So even though share of agriculture sector has persistently declined, that was only due to the increased presence of industrial and tertiary or service sectors. So agriculture sector still contributes about 16.5% of, that is a very significant share of our GDP. And as I said, it has consistently maintained a share from, analyzing from 2015, there is a consistent share of about 16 to 18% of GDP has been maintained by agriculture. Okay, so that is the first point we can say. Now, second one, probably the most important contribution of agriculture, it is the largest employment providing sector in India. Okay, fortunately or unfortunately, because why unfortunately? Because again, there is a lot of disguised unemployment. Do you know the term disguised unemployment? So these are terms that are significantly used. Disguised unemployment. You can use these terms safely in your answers, mains answers. It is not a jargon or anything, it is commonly used. So disguised unemployment means that when there are more than required number of laborers employed in a sector or in an activity. Say 5 members or 5 laborers can cultivate 50 cents of land. Only 5 laborers are required. But imagine 12 laborers are employed. That means 12 minus 5, 7 laborers are in disguised unemployment. That is, they are actually not needed there. Okay, so reducing the number to 5 or doing away with these 7 people will help improving agricultural productivity. So why these 7 people cannot be moved away? Again, that is a question. That is because agriculture is mostly a rural, or it is a kind of a family activity in most areas. That is, everybody in the family will be employed in agriculture. So that is why there is a huge number of people employed in agriculture, one reason. Second reason is that other non-farm jobs are not largely available, or lack of availability of non-farm jobs. Third thing we can say is that the lack of skill or lack of abilities in order to find other jobs, or lack of market skills, or lack of skills that the market requires for jobs. Okay, all these can be said as a reason for the disguised unemployment, but mostly, as we said, almost 50% of the population is still directly or indirectly dependent on agriculture as an employment generating activity. So one more thing to note here is that even though there is a percentage decline in agriculture over the years, that is in 1972 there was 74% of our population was engaged in agriculture. Okay, in 1972 74% of our population was directly or indirectly engaged in agriculture and allied activities, which fell to 65% in 93-94, which again fell in 2011-12, it again fell to 48.9%. So even though there is a percentage decline, the problem is that, as we know, our population is expanding at a very fast rate. So even though there is a percentage decline, the absolute number of people engaged is still increasing. Okay, so just keep that point also in mind. Now, next importance of agriculture is definitely food security, or provision of food to the ever expanding population. So we can look at the perspective of food security, or providing food to ever expanding population, from the perspective of, again, a developing or underdeveloped country. So the problem in developing and underdeveloped countries is that already the the per capita consumption of food is very low. Per capita consumption, or per person consumption of food is already very low. So what happens when the per capita consumption or per person consumption of food is already low? What happens is that when there is an increase in income, there is automatically an increase in consumption of food more than proportionately, because you are deprived, you are currently at a deprived level. So when your income increases, the demand for food increases more than proportionally. That is, food demand for food is said to be highly income elastic. Okay, income elasticity of demand is said to be very high. Income elasticity of demand is simply the responsiveness of, or that is how much your we can talk about it with respect to food. So how much of your demand for food increases when your income increases by 1 unit. That is all. It is a very simple concept. When your income increases, how much does your consumption of food increase? So that is income elasticity. So when we are already in a deprived situation, as income increases, there will be a very high or more than proportionate increase in the demand for food, and agriculture has to maintain, or agriculture has to continuously increase its marketable surplus of food grains. That is, its contribution to food grains, or its, whatever it is bringing into the market, should increase consistently, or as the development process progresses, as the growth process progresses, agriculture should be able to contribute more and more to the market, or more and more food supply should come to the market in order to meet the increased demand. I hope you understood that. That is, when economic growth increases or progresses, what happens? Income increases. When income increases, since we are already, the per capita consumption of food is very low, what happens is that when income increases, the demand for food increases more than proportionately. Okay, now once so in order to meet this increased demand, the agricultural sector should also be consistently bringing surplus into the market, or it should be able to meet the increasing food requirements of the market. That is, again, there is one more dimension to this food security, that is when the demand for food increases because of increase in population and increase in income. Both of these points are there. Not only increase in income, there is increase in population as well. So because of these two reasons, when the demand for food increases, if agricultural sector is not equipped to meet this increasing demand, if agricultural sector is not able to pump up its supply of food grains, what happens? The country will have to depend on import of food grains, which is a very, very, very bad scenario. So I think I mentioned this in an earlier class, but again, when a developing country and a developed country, that is, say when USA and India are trading, or let's not take a real world example. Say X is a very developed country like US, and Y is a country in sub-Saharan Africa which is not that much developed. So when X and Y are trading, X being the more developed country, there is definitely an advantage for X over Y. That is, X tends to export more of industrial goods, or very costly high-end goods will be exported by X. On the other hand, Y will be largely exporting primary or agricultural goods. So what happens is that the trade balance will always be in favor of X. So what happens when we import food grains is that, or when we import very, very essential commodities, what happens is that there is a kind of dependence on another nation. This is something that happened in India, as we all know. So when a country is over dependent on imports, especially for an essential commodity like food grains, it will tend to affect the sovereignty of the country. Okay, it will not be having an independent or a free, strong position will not be there for it. Okay, so that is the importance in food security.